Hey friends, my name is Jackson. I'm not your average NB, and welcome back to my channel. And I'm going to be doing another update to my I'm a Parent to a Bunch of Stuffed Animal series. This is a series I stopped posting a couple of years ago, but it's back now because it's not on Reddit anymore. It's on various places on Facebook, and I actually made it its own Facebook page. So, um, if you guys want to check it out, the name of the page is I'm a Parent to a Bunch of Stuffed Animals, and you can follow it and you can do whatever you want on it. It's basically just my page where I post stuff, and I can't, I don't know if it's an account or a page or what, but like, doesn't even matter. Like, it was originally written about a couple years ago, and then I just stopped updating at one point because I was getting so much hate from Reddit. And I'm still kind of getting hate some places on Facebook in various places. And on some posts specifically, like, I've been doing a ton of updates recently, and I wanted to read them to you. And I also I'm just gonna read the entire series because I actually just turned all the posts into one post, and I sent it to my own email so that I could read it to you guys so that I'm not like scrolling looking for posts and stuff. So I'm gonna read it now. It covers real life sensitive topics. Feel free to skip post. And yeah, it might say some stuff that you might not understand because it was posted on Facebook, and this is geared toward the Facebook audience, and this is geared toward posting on Facebook and posting on Reddit and various stuff like that. So it just doesn't, there's some stuff in here that might not make a lot of sense when it's posted on YouTube. But anyway, but it does cover a lot of sensitive topics. Ugh, ugh, ugh. And I did put a trigger warning in there for certain posts, especially for various stuff. But basically, okay, anyway, well, you guys asked for it, so here it is. This was originally written about 2 years ago. I'm the parent to a bunch of stuffed animals, all posts so far. The series is ongoing, but it's been confusing to some people who read the new posts and don't have all the context, so I've decided to compile it all into one post. I tried to put things in order, so hopefully it will be. Also, some of these are from months ago. Part 1. So this is going to sound like the craziest thing ever, but I don't care. If you want to comment mean things, go right ahead. It's just more engagement on my post. Also, I'm not sure if I can post this in the parenting subreddit since they're not human kids. Anyway, here it is. Ever since I was a kid, I've been buying stuffed animals, and I started taking care of them like my kids until they actually became my kids. They all have their own voices and personalities, and I love them all. I have no idea how this happened. It's just been happening and has been a part of my everyday life ever since I could remember. It probably happens as a mixed result from my autism and a stress response from my abusive dad. But now this is my life, and I couldn't imagine it without my stuffed animal children. Anyway, this was just an introduction. I'll post more later. I know not everyone is going to understand or be nice about it, but I'm going to continue posting about my kids. Cheers. And then there was an edit. This blew up. Please continue sharing your stories about your own stuffed animals. We're all in this together, and all for all the comments, thank you so much. It makes me so happy to hear about your stuffed animals. Send me any info you want about them. I'm hanging out with my mom tonight, who is a human, by the way. I felt I had to clarify that. But if I don't update by tomorrow, I definitely will tomorrow. There's so much I want to share. Part 2. I'm the parent to a bunch of stuffed animals. Just to be clear, all the kids in this story are dolls or stuffed animals. Anyway, my daughter Marceline, age 19, left home. She and her boyfriend have one son, Ash, and they were trying to have a second child. Marceline really wanted one. I didn't realize how much until the doctor told them they probably couldn't have another kid, her and her boyfriend. She and her boyfriend and son moved back home. They'd been living away from home for a few different reasons, and she fell into a deep depression and started smoking weed and making edibles, which my younger kids got into once. I got angry and told Marceline she was no longer allowed to smoke weed or make edibles, and if she was living under my house, she would live by my rules. I told her I was sorry that she couldn't have another baby, but she needed to get it together. Tough love and all. She then left. This was weeks ago and has been gone ever since. She left us a note explaining she was going to stay at her friend Jessica's and did not want to be bothered. She said she would have her phone off the entire time and that it was nobody's fault and she wasn't mad. She was just depressed and needed some time to figure some things out. She left her weed pipe beside her note. We had a family meeting so everyone could voice their concerns. Some of the kids were concerned, some felt guilty, and some said that it was good that she was taking some time for herself because she clearly needed it. In the end, we reluctantly decided to leave her alone. She was obviously depressed and maybe this would help. Part 3, kind of a spin-off but related post to my I'm a Parent to a Bunch of Stuffed Animal series. There are just a few basic rules you should know if you're going to be reading about and or a part of my stuffed animal world. The rules are different from ours in a lot of cases. The legal age to learn to drive is 13. Stuffed animals can date within their families. Stuffed animal school is still closed because of you know what. Sibling assignments are when an older sibling takes on the majority of the responsibility for a younger sibling. I'll go more into that later. Not all stuffed animals are good, like good guys. There are some evil ones out there. The stuffed animal world exists within ours, but is very different in a lot of regards. The one constant that keeps us connected is the human slash stuffed animal or doll relationship. Not all stuffed animals age every year. Part 4. My daughter left home a while ago and disappeared. Nobody has seen her or heard from her since. She said she's staying with a friend and requested to be left alone, so we did. Her 20th birthday recently passed, and it makes me sad that she celebrated it without her family, and especially her twin brother. He was very upset and missed his sister. He called her friend's house, and she requested not to attempt to contact his sister again. She needs time to figure some things out, apparently, and she doesn't want to hear from us right now. She's of legal age, so there's nothing to be done. I'm worried about her. Part 5. I've talked about this before. I post these stories here and a few other places, but not on any parenting subreddits because I'm technically not a quote unquote real parent. At least the other parents would see it that way. I know this is weird, but I'm the parent to a bunch of stuffed animals. One of my girls, a 4-year-old named Kendall, has been getting sick 1 to 2 times a month since about November of last year. Is this just a phase or something? And by the way, this was posted a couple of years ago. Did anyone else have a kid who got sick a lot but then got over it? I'm kind of worried. Usually it's just a cold and then she'll be better in 2 to 3 days, but a couple times she had the stomach flu, and most recently it was an earache. By the way, update on that, it was resolved after like a few months after I posted. She stopped getting sick so much, and she's only gotten sick, I think, once in the last couple years, and that was on Saturday, and she was sick until Monday, and then she woke up feeling better today, but she had the stomach flu for a couple of days. I'm kind of worried. Usually it's just a cold and she'll be better in 2 to 3 days, but a couple times she had the stomach flu, and most recently it was an earache. Part 6. Good morning. This is another part in the I'm a Parent to a Bunch of Stuffed Animals series. Thank you to the person who stood up to me on the last post when one user said I wasn't a parent. Anyway, one of my stuffed animal kids, Rigby, I've had since 2017, as I brought him home as a foster kid. I started the adoption process after a month with his permission. The problem is, the adoption process to adopt a stuffed animal child usually takes years, and they wouldn't let me continue it when I moved him back in with my mom due to COVID, so it was stalled for 2 years. We're going to get to move forward with it once I move out, though. However, it could still take up to a year to finish. They do have a new adoption process that's out that takes a much shorter time. They're still letting people who already started using the previous adoption process continue with that. I don't want to stop the adoption process because to start using the other one because my son has had terrible experiences with foster homes that made him feel unloved and unwanted, and I'm worried that if I switch to the new adoption process and think I don't want to adopt him anymore or something, he'll just find out if I switch to the new adoption process, he'll just find out that I stopped the adoption process and think I don't want to adopt him anymore or something. Anyway, that's all. Part 7. I'm turning 28 in less than a month. Okay, there you go. You can clearly see this was posted over 2 years ago. And I love my birthday, so my mom and I always make it into a big thing. The plan never changes in a big way because I like doing the same stuff for my special day. One of the things we do is go to a toy store too, and my mom buys me 1 or 2 toys, which I always let her know, can you set aside a little money so that I can buy like 1 or 2 stuffed animals or toys or whatever? Because I like doing that. I love getting surprised, and then I always have at least one toy that I wanna pick out, um, so usually I still I still have presents that are surprises, but I like picking out 1 or 2 things for myself. So usually I have a little walking around money, and I get to choose something or some things that I want to buy. This year I found a Luca plush online because the movie came out. It was probably my favorite Disney movie that came out during the pandemic. I think I still stand by that. I was really excited because I hadn't shopped at the Disney store in a couple years, and I forgot that new movies meant new plushies. I told my mom I wanted to skip Mastermind Toys where we've been going for the past few years, and instead I wanted to go to the Disney store and get a Luca plush. We'll be at the mall anyway because that's part of our plan. Anyway, I'm really excited for Luca to join my family. Okay, so Update on that too, because I don't remember if I wrote this, but like, I don't remember if I actually wrote this part. I may have written it in another post. If I did, we'll get there, but if I didn't, I just want to let you guys know right now. We ended up having an issue with that because the Disney store apparently has closed, not just in my town, in my mall, but like everywhere in Canada. There are no Disney stores available in Canada. They just shut them all down, I guess, during the pandemic or something. And so I hadn't shopped at the Disney store in a couple years, and the Disney store is now gone. So, like, me and my mom were standing outside one of the stores, scrolling online to see if there was another Disney store that we could go to see if there was another way to get Luca. And eventually, my mom just ended up ponying up a bunch of extra money so we could get him online because I really wanted him and I had my heart set on this. So my mom was like, "Okay, fine, I'll give." It was really expensive to order him online. I think it was like $30 more than my mom had planned to spend, but she was like really understanding about the whole thing, and she ended up like buying him, she ended up just buying him because she ended up just buying him and ordering him online. So I did get him. Part 8. I'm the parent to a bunch of stuffed animals. This is an ongoing series. I've been going through the adoption process since 2017, and finally, I got an email from the adoption agency this morning saying the final paperwork will be processed within 42 hours. That was at 8:42 a.m. this morning, which means by the time I wake up tomorrow, he will be officially adopted. I'm buying him his favorite treats later, and I'm going to throw him a special party. I'm so excited. Edit for info. Yes, my son is a stuffed raccoon. He's 13 years old, and the adoption process has taken about 5 years. I bought his favorite cookies to surprise him tomorrow. Part 9. Yes, the kids in this are stuffed animals. There seems to be some confusion about that. No matter how many times, no matter how many times I tell people that, there seems to still be confusion somehow, no matter how clear I make it. My heart is soaring right now. Despite the mixed reactions on the series, I'm going to continue posting, and I'm so happy right now, I don't even care about anything else. My son went out with his brother so we could set up, but left his phone at home, and my other boy's phone is dead. They said they would be home by 6 at the latest. I'm so happy that I'm officially my son's mom after so long. Part 10. I'm the parent to a bunch of stuffed animals, and I recently adopted one of them after a long process. I'm so happy, and I ordered a copy of his original birth certificate to celebrate. I thought he might want to see it. However, when it got here on Tuesday, it had his birth date 2 years from when it was supposed to be, meaning he's actually 11 instead of 13. He's been in Toronto with a bunch of his friends since last Sunday and will be there until tomorrow night. I didn't want to do this over text, and I didn't want to ruin his good times, but I know I have to tell him. Quick edit. My son just came home and texted me that he was going to bed because of how tired he was, but he said he would talk to me tomorrow. It was like a going to bed, talk to you tomorrow, love you text. So I will be discussing this with him. I'm nervous. Part 11. There is a link to an explanation post down below in case you guys need more context. There's also a link to the original post below. But basically, I'm the parent to a bunch of stuffed animals, and I posted a couple days ago that tomorrow I was going to tell one of them that they were 11 and not 13. My son was away with friends. I posted that on Sunday, and it's now Tuesday. We still have not had that discussion. He came out of his bedroom Monday afternoon, and I asked him if we could talk for a moment. He said he couldn't because he was running late to lunch with a friend. He left quickly before I could say much else. Later, he texted me to let me know that he wanted to stay over at his friend's place, and I asked if he could come home so we could talk. He asked me if it was an emergency, and I hesitantly said no. I don't want to have this discussion over text. He said he wanted to stay out with his friends at least until later today. I wish I had more of an update for you all. I just don't know what's going to happen. That's all for now. Okay. I'm a parent to a bunch of stuffed animals, new updates. So I wanted to first explain how things went with my son. He was pretty shocked when I talked to him and said he needed a little time. His brother drove him to the airport and he flew to the US and was there for about a week. He came back and didn't talk to me for a while, but his baby sister talked to him and then he was fine with it for the most part. He seems kind of happy that he gets two 11th, 12th, and 13th birthdays. Well, technically, he was already 11, so he only gets a 12th and 13th birthday, but anyway. Second, my daughter moved out in December of 2021. Many months later, in November of 2022, she came over for a visit just to tell us that everything was going okay and she wasn't sure if she would ever be back. She said she was going to travel for a while. So that's my daughter, Marceline, that I was talking about, the one who left home. While she was away, there was a lot of fighting over what would happen to a coffee shop. Eventually, Shadow paid off the guy who wanted to sell it, and it stayed vacant. Then, in late February of 2023, my son flat out refused to celebrate his birthday without his twin sister. He kept refusing party stuff, and it all came to a head when his siblings tried to throw him a birthday party, and he got frustrated and smashed the cake. Marceline chose this moment to show up. There was a knock on the door. Marshall, her twin brother, answered it, and there she was. We asked her how she knew, and all she would say was that it was twin tuition. We never really got answers to our questions beyond that. Things have mostly gone back to normal since then. And by the way, this next one is really intense, so you guys might want to skip it. I'm the parent to a bunch of stuffed animals, and my son just dropped a bombshell on me. Trigger warning, past abuse. Before anyone is wondering, this happened today. Also, I asked my son if I could post this here, and he said yes. My son is Morty Smith from Rick and Morty. Up until today, I thought he didn't go back to the show. He left around season 3 because he didn't like the plot lines where he was being abused by his grandpa or others. So pretty much all of them. If you haven't seen the show, a few of the things that happened to him were in the pilot, his grandpa forced him to stick huge seeds up his behind in order to bypass interdimensional security. A few episodes later, he was R-worded. And by the way, I should have fixed this in post, but he wasn't actually R-worded. The guy tried to R-word him, but he wasn't actually able to, do it because Morty got away, but still, the fact that he tried by someone on an adventure that he and his grandpa went on together. His grandpa constantly verbally abused him as well. He was constantly being put in dangerous situations as a kid instead of being allowed to enjoy life. In the Vat of Acid episode, quote unquote episode, his grandpa made a device that mentally tormented him and then informed him that it was actually alternate versions of him who died. My son then asked how to save the alternate versions of himself, and his grandpa almost forced him to take the fall for all his actions and go to jail, I think, all because he said his grandpa's idea was dumb. I asked him if there was any concern that his grandpa might try and get him back and take him from us. He said no, and that his grandpa said if he didn't want to go on adventures, then that was whatever, and he would just get another Morty. Morty has been living with us for the past few years. He seems happy, especially in spite of everything he went through. Everyone loves him, and he loves everyone, and his therapist gently guided him to tell me this during his first therapy session today. Trigger warning, bullying. I'm the parent to a bunch of stuffed animals, and my son is back in ballet. So, my 11-year-old son recently joined a new ballet program that opened here last week. He loves ballet, but stopped going years ago because of bullying and the teacher not doing anything. The program that opened last week is run by a Christian woman who has the class open 6 days a week, just not Sunday, as she observes the Sabbath. She also has a son, Tristan, who is in the class as well, and he and Tails have already become friends. He's having dinner there tomorrow night. I'm the parent to a bunch of stuffed animals. Huge updates. Trigger warning, alcohol abuse, death, human sex trafficking. I'm the parent to a bunch of stuffed animals, and I'm sending my sons to AA. So this happened throughout February and March of 2023. After everything happened with Marceline using pot, I decided I didn't want alcohol or drugs in my house at all. That decision was solidified when my alien son, Chode, showed up drunk to pick up my daughter Edith from soccer. Luckily, Edith didn't get in the car and called her brother Dan to pick her up instead. So now I'm sending my two alien sons, Chode, who's from a show that you've probably never heard of, and Roger, who's from American Dad, to AA. I'm telling them they can either go or move out. They are more than old enough to live alone, so I'm laying down the law. Update. Chode will go, but Roger won't. Now Roger and his boyfriend, Dit, also my son, but in the stuffed animal world, dating is allowed within the families, is mad at him and threatened to break up with him if he doesn't go. Update. Roger and Dit broke up and Roger moved out. And that was the last update for that one. I'm the parent to a bunch of stuffed animals, and my sons are doing important government work. This part will require quite a bit of background, so let me explain. It all started in 2015. I was 21 and started dating a guy, but the relationship was terrible. He was abusive, but that wasn't the worst part. He had a stuffed animal family too, and his son, Simcoe, bullied my kids, especially my one daughter, Candlehead, and he even tore up her petition that she made. Luckily, we had backup copies. Shortly after that, he ended the relationship. I should have done it. I know that now, and I regret letting him into my life and letting him and his son hurt my family. We were quote unquote friends for a few months, during which I shared custody of the girls from him, which was also a huge mistake. I realize that now. And then I decided to break off the friendship because of him and Simcoe. The only problem was he had custody of three of the girls at the time, and when I told him, he threw all three of them against the wall. I will always feel bad for not protecting my kids in this situation. Two of the girls are still in therapy because of it. Anyway, after that, life went on, and I swore to protect my kids in the future like I didn't protect them then. I know I failed my kids. Years later, we were searching for someone, another stuffed animal, which led us to a stuffed animal trafficking program, led by, of all stuffed animals, Simcoe. We took down the entire operation, and my sons, who were 16 and 20 at the time, were very heavily involved with helping shut it down. Simcoe was put in jail for the rest of his life, and the government informed my sons that they wanted to invest $100,000 into a program that would that would shut down sex trafficking and stuffed animal trafficking programs. The boys decided to jump right on board. That was years ago, and they've been able to go do their work and then come home until early 2023. The government wanted to expand the program and needed them on site for it. They were there for a few months starting in November 2022, and then recently the government expanded their program. The only thing is, the program is incredibly secretive and important, and it's built in such a way that they can't have contact with anyone outside the program, and it'll be at least 2 years before they can come home. I encouraged them to do it because it was really important to them, and they're really passionate about this. I didn't want to stand in the way of their dreams. They were both over 18 at this point. In March 2023, they called me for the last time to talk about everything, and they called their siblings and said goodbye, and they'll talk to us again as soon as possible. I'm really happy they're doing this, but also the family is having a hard time dealing with them being away and not being able to contact them. I'm the parent to a bunch of stuffed animals, and my family is in danger. Simcoe broke out of prison. Apparently, my daughter has been in a prison pen pal program, and she's been writing letters to Simcoe without knowing it was him. I guess he gave her a fake name. My son also recently got a Twitter account. He's 10, and everything was going great for a couple weeks. But then there was a hashtag Justice for Tails. Apparently, Simcoe was coming after Tails specifically, and I think I know why that is because he's the one who insisted on opening um, an investigation back up that would eventually get Simcoe caught. Mm. By the way, this all happened like a long time ago, like last year, like last August, I think. Apparently, Simcoe was coming after Tails specifically. My son just got put in witness protection because of this, and he can't contact us. The family didn't get put in witness protection because it seems he is only after Tails. Everyone is having a hard time, and things are extremely complicated. My son is safe. I'm just trying to focus on that piece. I'm the parent to a bunch of stuffed animals, and my son saved his sister. The Simcoe issue has ended. Simcoe is dead. My son shot him. It all came to a culmination a couple weeks after it started. Somehow, Simcoe lured my daughter, Louise, to an abandoned warehouse to try to kill her. Three of her siblings went after her. They were able to cause Simcoe enough of a shock that he dropped the gun he was holding. His two other siblings fought off Simcoe long enough for Rigby, my 12-year-old, to grab the gun. He shot Simcoe to save his family. I should add at this point how difficult it is to get into the stuffed animal world. You basically can't get there without government help and a special pill, which is impossible to get unless the stuffed animal government gives you one. If they have supportive siblings, you can't really get one just for them having a baby. I did get a pill for this situation, however. I met my kids outside the warehouse and they ran into my arms. Rigby was sobbing and begging me not to make him move out. I asked why he would think that I would do that. I mean, he grew up in so many foster homes and they were terrible and treated him horribly. He didn't even have a proper birthday party until he started living with us. I told him I would never do that and that I loved him and he would always be my son. I told him that I was proud of him and that he saved his siblings. I tried to convince him to go to therapy since, but he won't go. He seems not too bad considering everything. Like he's just kind of moved on with life. There will be more updates later, but that's all for now. I'm the parent to a bunch of stuffed animals, and I spilled my guts to my support worker. And this happened September 16th of this year. Not a lot of these have dates, but this one does. This happened today in the early afternoon. I have autism and depression and various disabilities, so I have support twice a week. Today we are going shopping, and I just decided to tell my support worker everything. I told her things my mom doesn't know. My mom doesn't even know. How my daughter moved away and doesn't talk to me, about my granddaughter who was born with health issues, about Morty and the past with his grandpa, about Rigby and the depression, about the portal and my son getting lost inside it. By the way, I wanted to mention one thing that I didn't put in here that I am going to post about later, but I wanted to mention that one of my sons is a scientist and he invented a machine that accidentally sucked some of his siblings into it and not all of them could make it out on time, and one of his brothers got left behind, and because it's so dangerous, they can never open the portal again, and my son can't fix it so that they can go back into the portal. So it's just too dangerous, and my son had to destroy the machine, and now his brother is lost in the portal forever. I kind of skipped over the part where Rigby shot Simcoe, but basically everything else just came out. We had to talk about how parents make mistakes. I'm not going to share her personal business here, but she shared her mistakes with me. We're all human, and maybe I didn't protect my kids in the past, but that I can do better for them now, and how if my daughter wants to reach out, she will, and that she might come around. I hope she does. I miss her voice. I'm the parent to a bunch of stuffed animals. Explanation slash out of character post. Trigger warning, mentions of abuse. This is a spin off slash continuation post to my I'm the parent to a bunch of stuffed animals series, which is an ongoing series. There seems to be a lot of confusion and questions about that series, so hopefully this post will clear up at least some of that. One, I am not delusional or crazy. I do not believe this is real. There are various reasons that I choose to do this, which I will get into later down the post. I pretend this is real and I love that this is my family. Regardless of knowing this isn't real, I will continue to do this. It makes me happy. Yes, all the kids in the series are, in fact, stuffed animals slash dolls. They are sewn together and filled with stuffing. They are literally stuffed animals. They come from various toy stores, such as Mastermind Toys or online. No, I do not mean foster children. No, English is not my second language. Yes, I realize they are not real. They're real to me. Three, I'm careful about not losing myself in my fantasy world. That I may not ask long. Four, I realize this is the internet and it is not a catered safe space for me. I realize some people will be assholes and try to kill people's joy just for the sake of being assholes, which I've seen a lot of. However, I accept that not everyone will get it. I'm used to mixed reactions. I will not let other people change how I feel or stop posting due to this, which I did over on Reddit, but not this time. I take it in stride, and if they continue being jerks, that's what the block button is for. I do love engaging with people on my posts. I will answer your questions as long as you're not just being an asshole. 5. I love my kids and nothing will change that. I'm happy with my life. Now to the question, why do I do this? And then I put another trigger warning for the mentions of abuse just in case you didn't read the first one. When I was a child, I grew up with an abusive dad. For me and my sister, it was mostly emotional abuse. He would gaslight us and isolate us from everyone, including our mom. He also sexually abused me when I was a teenager, which I'm not going to share more information than that. I developed a lot of coping mechanisms. One of them was parenting my stuffed animals. I would treat them like my kids. After my dad left, I became a full-on parent to my kids and started creating an entire world. It soon turned into a series with storylines and everything. Just as an example, when I say something like, my son is out, I realize he is actually sitting by my pillow and hasn't moved, but in my mind, he is away with friends. No, they do not have cell phones. Again, that is imaginary. I cannot stress enough that I know the things I am talking about are not real. I have created this world due to my autism, trouble making friends, depression, and PTSD. This is left over from when I was a kid, only I've decided I love doing it and I don't want to stop. So what's next for the series? I'm not giving anything away as of now. There are some really hardcore storylines coming up. I will link this post in the comment section of all my new posts so people can read it and hopefully understand me a little bit better. I'm the parent to a bunch of stuffed animals and my kids just got married. So there's been a lot of serious stuff happening lately, so I thought I would share some past stories that are wholesome and light. I'm the parent to a bunch of stuffed animals, and my daughter is getting married. And this happened in November 2023. I'm so excited. I may have mentioned before that the only way for a human to get into the stuffed animal world is by a pill that is pretty much impossible to get unless the government gives it to you. Unfortunately, they don't just give it to you for anything. They cost so much to make that you get one for only really big events, and sometimes not even that. For example, I didn't see my grandkids being born because my kids had support from their respective partners and their siblings, but I'm getting one for the wedding. I'm getting one that'll let me stay at the wedding long enough to walk my daughter down the aisle, watch them say their vows, and then later do the mother-daughter dance. I'll post updates about the wedding as things happen. Shadow just proposed the other day. Wedding update. The reason they're getting married is that my daughter is pregnant with twins. They already have one son. I should also mention here that dating and marrying within the stuffed animal world is different than dating in the human world. The biggest the biggest way is that dating and marrying within the stuffed animal family is 100% acceptable. As acceptable as dating outside the family, so my daughter and son are the ones getting married, technically. And no, there are no incest babies since stuffed animal genetics are completely different from human genetics. Anyway, it's going really good. My daughter asked me for help writing her vows yesterday. She's been going around asking the family to share their favorite moments of her and her fiance's relationship. I think that's such a sweet idea. Wedding update too. Marceline, my daughter, told us she wants a non-traditional wedding. The normal wedding traditions, like wearing a white dress or getting married in a church, are not her thing. She's never been a girly girl, but luckily her fiance is the most supportive person ever, so they're working on something non-traditional that they'll both enjoy. They also decided there will be no bachelor or bachelorette party, not in the traditional way anyway. They're gonna go to Chuck E. Cheese for the kids the Saturday before the wedding. Then the Sunday before the wedding, the adults are going to have their own night out, but not separately. They're all going out together. And no one had any complaints except for one of Marceline's friends, but she shut that down real quick. And then there was another wedding update, number 3, November 4th. Marceline and Shadow and the rest of the family made it to Vegas last night. They're not eloping, they just think Vegas would be a really cool place to get married, and they worked everything out so they could include all their siblings, even the younger ones. Marceline and Shadow always said they were going to find a way to make sure their siblings were included. Anyway, there's been a couple of issues. For one thing, someone dropped the cake when they were bringing it to the venue. Also, Marceline's something new never arrived. She wanted to get each of her siblings to help out, even in some small way, and the kids were very enthusiastic. The something old responsibility fell to her 10-year-old sister Edith. Oh, okay. I guess I wrote it wrong. I meant that who is something old never arrived because that's what it's supposed to be. But anyway, I personally wouldn't feel comfortable giving that responsibility to a 10-year-old, but it's Marceline's wedding and she's been very adamant about getting her siblings as involved as possible, insofar as they wanted to be. Marceline texted me about these things. She was stressing on the inside even though she kept telling her sister they would figure it out and then it was okay. I had a few ideas for something new when I texted them to Edith. Oh, never mind. Edith. Something new. I keep getting mixed up because the something old responsibility fell to her 10-year-old sister Edith, but no, it was the something new. I just texted. I, I wrote that part wrong. Edith was on it and got Dan to take her to a store and bought a little charm, and got her sister's wedding date engraved on it and brought it back to her sister who loved it. Meanwhile, Bill picked up sheet cake at a nearby store. It was pretty expensive, but it was for Marceline's wedding. Wedding update number 4. My 4-year-old Kendall was supposed to be the flower girl for the wedding. However, when she got the basket, she started sneezing and coughing. Turned out she was allergic to the flowers they picked. Very allergic. Marceline rushed in to get her sister out of there and tried to find a solution. Kendall was crying and apologizing, and Marceline just asked if she was okay and said she didn't have to apologize. She switched out Kendall and Cream's roles. Cream is Aiden as the ring bearer, so Cream ended up being the flower girl, and Kendall was the ring bearer. The girls both seemed pretty happy with that. Marceline then texted me that it was time to come, and I did. I took my pill and walked my daughter down the aisle, watched my kids get married, and then we danced together. Marceline told me how happy she was that I was there and how much she loved me. I said I loved her so much and that she would always be my baby. We both cried a little bit. Wedding update 5. My kids just left on their honeymoon. Shadow and Marceline headed from the wedding to home, hung out for a couple days, then left for their honeymoon. Despite the issues they had during the wedding, they ended up laughing and getting married happily. Marceline didn't care that much about things going perfectly. She just wanted the people she loved to be there. There was one point in the wedding where they were going to cut the cake, and it seemed like Marceline was kind of upset because she didn't have a tiered cake for the photos. She at least wanted to have a wedding cake. That was the one most important tradition for her. However, Shadow did something nobody expected. A year or so ago, Marceline had seen some videos online about a husband shoving his wife's face into the cake. Marceline laughed her butt off and said, OMG, we should do that at our wedding. That'd be amazing. Shadow did just that. He shoved her face into the chocolate sheet cake. Everyone gasped in shock, and it took a second for Marceline to register what had just happened. And then she burst out laughing, as did everyone else. You remembered, Marceline cried. She kissed her new husband. I love you, baby, said Shadow. Marceline licked her lips. Anyway, now they're off to the States and a couple other places for the next 3 weeks. I'm so happy for them. I'm just warning you right now, things are about to get dark again. So, if you guys want to skip this part, I don't blame you. Trigger warning medication abuse slash overuse. September 24th. I'm the parent to a bunch of stuffed animals. Oh, this year, September 24th of this year. I'm the parent to a bunch of stuffed animals, and my son just overdosed. He will be fine to start. He's 13 to be clear. I just feel awful. After everything happened recently, Rigby said he needed space. He would come out occasionally to play a video game for a short amount of time or get some food, but he would never sit at the table and would just go back to his room. His sister would check in on him every few days, and she always said he was fine, albeit a bit depressed and rough. That was to be expected after everything. But I guess after he got sick a few weeks ago, he kept using his medication and buying more, over the counter medication, by the way. He had his own money and access to money, and we didn't see any reason to oversee his account as it wasn't required by the government, and he was a good kid with, I thought, nothing to hide. I won't be making that mistake again. All this is to say there's no way I could have known what he was doing. I didn't see any signs of anything happening, so I thought it was all good, and that his sister, Marceline, aged 22, would let me know if anything was going on. She did not. Thomas, Rigby's brother and co-actor on the regular show, called me because Rigby called him. Thomas was saying that he needed me to come to the hospital, that he couldn't do this by himself, that his brother was going to die. Marceline was there too. I confronted her. I asked her, without yelling, why she didn't tell me anything about what was going on with Rigby. She said she knew, and that he promised that he would stop, so she didn't think it was pertinent to tell me. I was very upset with her. She asked me if she could see Rigby, and I said no, and she needed to go home. I'll figure this all out later. Right now, I have to see my son. Update. My son is sitting next to me on the couch and we have the TV on. We have a plan moving forward. When I saw Rigby at the hospital, he was crying and begging me for help. He said he was so sorry and he needed to get better. He wanted to get better. Louise, my 10-year-old, also knew, it turns out. She was crying when I saw her at home, and I told her it wasn't her fault and that the situation was very complicated. She said she didn't know what to do, and I don't know if she fully understood what was going on. I don't blame her. Her older sister, however, was fully aware and made the conscious decision to do what she knew was the wrong thing to do, or to not do what she knew was the right thing to do. I really need to edit this stuff. Here's the plan. I'm giving Rigby a couple days at home so he can rest and say a proper goodbye to his family. Rigby will not be unsupervised during this time. There will always be a sibling on deck. Also, I don't currently trust Marceline alone with him. Then on Friday, I'll get Dan to drive Rigby to rehab. Rigby knows this is happening and agreed to go because he knows he needs help and doesn't want to die, in his own words. I think his trip to the hospital really scared us all. Update 2, September 27th. Dan took Rigby to rehab. I didn't get a pill, so I couldn't take him. We said a big goodbye. Louise is mad at Rigby. I tried explaining that he's sick, but I think she's just having a hard time dealing with everything. I don't really know how to handle this. She said she just needs some time. I'm not leaving her alone, though. Everyone is in Paris from now on. I miss Rigby. Rigby's siblings miss him. Some of his siblings are having a hard time understanding what's going on. I had an all kids on deck meeting to explain it to them, which is when I get all the kids together to talk to them. Update 3, October 5th. Rigby got some call time today. The kids are not allowed to use their phone in rehab. Rigby's in the 6 week program. They get a little phone time on Saturdays with a public phone, with one of the staff there to monitor. He told me he made a couple friends, a guy named Matt and a girl named Alyssa. He also told me he's been making progress and that he has therapy and they've been encouraging him to journal every day. He said it's been helping a lot. Also, he was able to bring his bass guitar and he's been playing it a lot. He also is working on some lyrics, but he's not finished yet and doesn't share his work unless it's done. He seems to be doing better, and the staff is giving him medications to help with the withdrawals he's been having. He says the withdrawals kind of suck, but he'd rather get through it and never go back to using, or rather misusing. That hospital trip seemed to have been a real wake up call. I'm just glad he's okay, and I feel he's in the best place right now. And then another update. The rehab, October 12th. The rehab called me in the early afternoon to let me know that Rigby wanted to use his phone time for his siblings for the rest of his stay. It sucks, but I understand why he's doing it. Update 4, November 7th. My son is coming home tomorrow, and I'm worried about his transition from rehab to home. I'm worried he won't do well at home after being in rehab for the past 6 weeks. I'm also worried that he'll abuse his medication again. I had an all kids on deck meeting to vent our concerns. Louise just wants Rigby to get better. Edith is worried Rigby will get sick, and when he gets cold medication, he'll remember why he was abusing it in the first place and do it again. Thomas says he's worried that Rigby will overdose again, and this time he won't wake up. Marceline is scared that by not doing or saying anything, she sent him down a dangerous path, and he almost died. My frustration with her is less now, and she seems aware of the consequences of her actions, and said she won't do it anymore. I believe her in the way she's acting now. Everyone had similar concerns about their brother. When it was my turn to talk, I said I was afraid that the family would completely break down because Rigby had an incident, and I don't want the family to be ruined because of everything that had happened. I said I wanted all my kids to be safe and happy. I said that they could come to me with anything. I always say that to them, but wanted to make it especially clear now, after everything that's happened all this time. I also said that I didn't want the kids to think that because Rigby was coming home to think that because Rigby was coming home that everything would go back to normal. Rigby's been through a lot, as have all of us. A lot has gone on over these past few months, and the entire family has been affected, not just my son. I want the kids to feel safe and know that I'll take care of them. This whole situation with Rigby's medication misuse was a huge blind spot for me. I made a big mistake just leaving him alone, thinking everything would be okay. I thought I was doing the right thing. I'm so glad he's okay. Okay, I think yeah, now that I'm remembering it properly, the whole thing with Simcoe happened in August of this year. But anyway, Update 5, November 7th. I did something today. Back in 2019, Rigby and I went to a Weird Al concert and we had a VIP ticket and got to meet him. He still says it was the best day of his life and tells the story of the concert to anyone who will listen. I kind of thought I remembered seeing something online that he was touring again, and for some reason today that memory chose to pop into my head. So I googled it, and he's touring in my city. I snagged a ticket for me and Rigby. I'm planning to give it to him for his birthday, which is in March. I didn't see any VIP tickets this time, but there's an option to upgrade a ticket to a VIP ticket on the official site. I don't think there's a limited number or anything. It's pretty expensive though. I'm getting a job soon, so I'm planning to upgrade to a VIP ticket as soon as I get paid, if that's a possibility. Regardless, I have the ticket to go to the show at least. The concert is in June. So the concert is like really far away, but I wanted to end on a really good note, and I know why that popped in my head because anyway, my plan as of now is to give Rigby the ticket in December, and then hopefully I will have a job and I'm going to use some of my job money to upgrade it before his birthday and hopefully give it to him for his birthday or at least before June, like before we actually go to the concert. I'm not sure if it's for a limited time or whatever, but I'm going to check back when I have the money, when I'm making the money because I have a job. Anyway, I just wanted to give you guys this and I will continue updating the series and stuff because there's more stuff that I forgot to post about that I want to post about. But anyway, for now, I love each and every one of you guys. Please don't forget to always be yourself. You are valid. Please don't forget to be good to yourself and others, and I will see all you guys in the next video. Bye.